We're back. Welcome in. It's the PHNX Cardinals podcast live from Studio K. Take 2. Presented by our friends at Circle K, your premier Arizona Cardinal podcast. Like and subscribe one more time. It's Johnny Venerable, Brack, Damon, Dawg, producer extraordinaire. Thanks for hanging with us here on a Football Monday. So nice, the intro. We had to do it twice. And let's dive right in. We got people in the chat. We got super chats. Everybody, thank you for your patience. We're up and running because just like the Arizona Cardinals training camp, this is where you knock the rust off. You get those practice reps in because, my friend, we got a preseason game on deck for Saturday.
That's right. With the first preseason week upon us, that comes the first depth chart, Johnny Venerable. And you're number one as far as my depth chart goes. And Damon is also on the first team. And each and every one of you in the chat, Jess, Richard, King Snake, what's going on? Ryan, MK, Mr. Fat Gangster, Machine Gun Mexican, Jason, Daniel, everybody tuning in that was able to figure it out that we couldn't get live on the previous show. We're live right now, and we're ready to break down the Cardinals' first depth chart of 2024 and also look into some training camp breakouts a little bit later in the show. Can't wait to do that too.
We got so much going on in the football world. Is Brandon Aiyuk going to get traded? Could a potential Cardinal opponent become easier in San Francisco? But before we do that, today we were given a tasty little nugget by the team. The Arizona Cardinals released their first depth chart of training camp. And I'm going to say right now, there are some significant surprises to it that I didn't see coming, that I'm sure you didn't see coming, Bo. And nobody's around this team, I would imagine, more than you in this podcast to some extent. And the fact that I don't know if it's just because they're giving certain guys their due, but when you try to make sense of it, it feels like the opposite of that. They are, in certain aspects, they are, I don't want to say gifting because nothing's a gift, but they are giving rookies the benefit of the doubt in certain aspects of this depth chart. Do we just want to dive right into it? It's pretty shocking, in my opinion.
Yeah, there were definitely some things where he's like, this is kind of this is kind of interesting. I mean, something that I don't think is going to be a huge topic or something that's blown away, but like Marvin Harrison Jr. right there, wide receiver 1 for the Arizona Cardinals, immediately kind of took that over, and that's what everybody was anticipating when they selected him 4th overall. It's probably the least, I guess, surprising thing as far as the Cardinals depth chart goes. Damon, do we have the offensive side of this? Let's pull up the offensive side of the depth chart. Looks real nice here compared to the screenshot that I took from the team's site earlier. So Damon cleaned this up here and it looks great. Paris Johnson Jr., left tackle, Evan Brown getting the first crack at the left guard position. That's something that we've reported. And with Froholt, coming back from injury, he left practice last week. I think Brown potentially could start maybe at center come Saturday. Do you feel that way, Johnny? You think like if Evan Brown's going to be starting left guard, you see any value of him potentially starting if Fro can't go preseason game 1?
Yeah, I think so. I think you put him in there and then you let Isaiah Adams and you let Elijah Wilkins kind of duke it out. I don't really believe that Isaiah Adams is behind Evan Brown. I think that they want him to be. I think that that's the plan long term. But what did we see during the red and white scrimmage on Saturday? That happened. That was the last practice they had, right? They didn't practice today. They didn't practice on Sunday. And Elijah Wilkinson was there. So I think I call BS a little bit on that. But again, these are first world problems because we know who the starting 5 are. And if it's up to the Arizona Cardinals, unlike other positions where you're going to play, 10 to 12 guys and you've got a good rotation and you're mixing and matching for position groups, the offensive line, they would prefer to have the same 5 guys all year. Like they would prefer never to see Isaiah Adams this year if you ask them behind closed doors, or John Gaines, or Elijah Wilkinson, or Christian Jones, or Kelvin Beachum. They want Paris Johnson Jr. all the way through Jonah Williams to be their starting 5. Yeah. And so I think if Froholt can go this weekend, I think you give him a series or 2. But if not, like I think Evan Brown needs reps at center anyway. Like if let's say Froholt can go Saturday, then Evan Brown starts at left guard, and then maybe the next possession with the 2s, Evan Brown goes over to center, and whomever you want to have kind of thrown into the fire there, whether it's Adams, I would prefer Adams over Wilkinson. I think that you do that. But it's clear Adams, Wilkinson, and Gaines are their preferred option for some of this interior offensive line depth, or just O-line depth in general.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. Will Hernandez holding down the right guard spot. Jonah Williams at right tackle. He's been there since they signed him to the 2-year free agent agreement. And then you start to look at the next wave on the depth chart. Your backups, and Beachum, I think, continues to get the benefit of the doubt, the respect as their primary swing tackle.
Yeah.
You'll see that as he's positioned behind Paris Johnson Jr. as the primary backup at left tackle. Isaiah Adams, the 3rd-round rookie, is your left guard spot. And I think that those two guys, Johnny, at left tackle and left guard respectively, those guys profile as your primary tackle guard backups. Do you agree with?
Yes, 100%. No issues with that. I think position versatility is important, and they have that.
Yep. And then you start to look at guys who are more of a Swiss Army knife than those two guys, where I think Gaines can play any of the interior spots. You'll see him at center, but he can push over, as you were talking, left guard, I think some right guard as well. And then I think that they're going to search for somebody who gives you like tackle versatility to be kind of down the line here. And then you start to look at, 3rd string, Christian Jones is somebody you hope that's going to make a case for himself to maybe win a roster spot as a 2024 draft pick. But then you look at guys who have been around this organization for, now going into their 2nd season or parts of 2 seasons with, Austin Pleasance or Ishmael or Marquise Hayes, who's been here since the Keim days, and Dennis Daly. Like, it's going to take these guys a Herculean effort to crack a roster.
Yeah. Again, like I said on Saturday's broadcast from State Farm Stadium, I thought Marquise Hayes looked really good.
Yeah.
The Cardinals, it's a good problem to have now suddenly with some quality offensive line depth. And Isaiah Adams, John Gaines have never played a snap of pro football. I get that. I'm going to tell you right now, like I like Kelvin Beachum a lot. I would rather go with some of these younger guys, but I don't know if they're going to prefer going with a vet to be the swing tackle. If Elijah Wilkinson shows you enough and can handle that role, and then it allows you to keep Christian Jones and maybe like a Marquise Hayes, I would almost rather do that. I think that young offensive line depth and development is very important. And I love Kelvin Beachum. We interviewed him at Super Bowl week, but I would rather hedge my bet on young athletic guys that this offensive line group, the coaches can mold. And that's the first time we've been able to say that in a long time for the Arizona Cardinals. So like,
yeah,
I'm
going to push back. I disagree with that. I think it's nice to say now in August, but if you're staring down an injury in September, October, November, December, I think you want a guy, especially at the tackle position, with a little bit more experience. I hear like you want to start to get those guys up to speed. But when somebody gets injured before week 5, when you're going to face the San Francisco 49ers and you need somebody that's faced a Nick Bosa before, I think you would much rather, a Beachum over a guy that was playing the Big 12 last year. I
got you. I rewatched the Saints game recently, and Kelvin had a tough game that game. And so maybe that's revisionist history in my mind, where there were some free rushers.
The Thursday night one?
No, the Seahawk finale last year.
Seahawk. I thought you said Saints. Okay.
No, my bad. The Seahawk finale last year. And he was okay against the Eagles, but like both of those games that he had to start in place of DJ Humphries, like he had a tough time hanging on. But to your point, like if they lose a tackle for a prolonged period of time, it doesn't matter who they insert, right? Everybody just kind of assumes like this is BJ Ojulari's last year, or not BJ Ojulari. This is Kelvin Beachum's last year with the team. So, I mean, Christian Jones would have to show you a lot, but he did play a lot of games in the Big 12. I think he was there for damn near 4 years. That was one of the best offensive lines in college football. He's a 5th rounder, but at the same time, like I would not want to be in a position to subject Christian Jones to a practice squad. I think you would lose him. I think there's just too much cachet. That was a very deep tackle class. If Christian Jones isn't part of this deep tackle class, does he go around earlier? Is he a 4th rounder? Maybe. So again, like I think Kelvin Beachum has done the job admirably. He's been a great signing. I was very surprised when he got an extension this time last year. But I mean, they didn't ask Kelvin Beachum to be their starter. And I think if you can manage having a younger swing tackle, I would prefer that. But I'm nitpicking here. I just don't want to see the Cardinals young offensive linemen subjected to waivers and practice squads. I like a lot of these guys, and this is the first time we've been able to say that.
Yeah, let's take a look. Let's continue to look at this offensive depth chart, get to some different areas. You want to go with the wide receiver room first, Johnny?
I want to jump into what everybody's talking about in the chat. This situation at running back is baffling. It's flipping wild. And again, like I said on Twitter, Bo, I will take the ultimate L. I look like a dumbass now. I went on every podcast, every radio hit this summer and talked up Michael Carter. And then you go to practice and Michael Carter, and this isn't everything, is like number 2 in the drills with James Conner, and they're tied at the hip, and he looks fantastic. Is Michael Carter in jeopardy of being cut from the Arizona Cardinals after I think he averaged like almost 6 yards per carry for this team last year? He's the perfect complement to James Conner. They claimed him knowing full well he was under contract. He's got guaranteed money on the docket. Like,
yeah,
I don't even know what to make of that. And I like Trey Benson.
Yeah, but I've had conversations, people who cover this team and who are out there every day, and when we start talking about this running back room, because the numbers crunch there, you wouldn't think that this is going to be like the previous regime of this organization where they'll carry 5. I just don't see that happening. And who could be see their way out? And people will tell me Michael Carter, and I'm with you. Like you and I are unfortunately in lockstep and look silly because you and I were going off what we saw was the eye test last year, like in Pittsburgh, where they couldn't really get anything going on the first half on the ground. Michael Carter, really gave some juice to that offense and made some big plays. Same thing happened in Philadelphia. Like those are 2 big wins for this team that I thought Michael Carter playing his role and playing it at a high level. Like he's got a very defined role from what I thought, just like you did. And I don't know if this depth chart is a product of, hey, like we know what he is and don't worry about that, because it is a depth chart that's based up and created from the media department for the Cardinals. But for him to be all the way down at RB5, it's pretty crazy. And then also you hear that, you couple that info and where he's on the depth chart with how Jonathan Gannon has been so complimentary of Emari Demercado, and where Trey Benson was drafted and what DJ Dallas was given in free agency. I mean, it is crazy. Like all signs are pointing to Michael Carter being the odd man out in the running back room, which I'll say I think it's nuts.
I'm gonna throw up. He averaged 6.2 yards per carry last year, and in every game with the Cardinals, he was over 4.3 yards per carry. And he went to Philadelphia and helped Jonathan Gannon torch his old team. And that's not the end all be all. 7 touches, 7 carries for 61 yards, 8.7 yards per touch. He played his carries against San Francisco. He had 30 yards, 9 yards a carry. I mean, like, he's not a bell cow, but he's a winning player. He's 25 years old. He was a 4th-round pick of the Jets. People in the Jets lamented the team for releasing him. I thought the Cardinals struck gold. It's just, let's get good mileage out of this guy. Here, I will make a point right now. I think the DJ Dallas signing, I wonder if they don't regret that because he's going to make the team. I wonder if that's a mistake. I wonder if they could go back, they would do that differently. And I don't know who would be the backup to the kick returner, but they invested money in that position. I don't know if you needed to do that. Because there is a clear love affair with Emari Demercado, and good on him, because they feel like they found some kid undrafted, which they did, that came in. I'm talking about high yards per carry with Michael Carter. Demercado was well over 5 and was a gamer when that team had nothing when James Conner was out.
Yeah.
And carried the rock for them and was beneficial for them and had good pass protection. So, like, I think there's a lot of things are going against Michael Carter right now. The DJ Dallas contract, which you've been in practice every day. You can tell us and the viewers, like, how DJ Dallas has looked. I haven't seen anything, like, exceptional. And DJ Dallas is not I watched some Seahawk highlights this offseason. He's a very average player offensively. He's not I don't think he's an offensive player.
I just don't view him as an offensive player.
He's a returner.
Guy. He's a teams guy. And
with
this, I think that this team is just preparing that they want high IQ guys as far as teams go with this new dynamic kickoff. Like, and like, they're not going to just roll with like the days, at least in year 1 of this dynamic kickoff. They don't want to roll the dice with inexperienced players at that position. But like, I'm with you. Like, is what we saw from Michael Carter was a great compliment to what James Conner does, and then maybe where Michael Carter, can excel in some spots, and there's very few that James Conner doesn't. Like, I think he's an excellent change of pace to James Conner. And then with the addition of Trey Benson, I thought that made Emari Demercado, and I mean this in the most respectful way, expendable to where, I think he could, continue to play in this league. I just didn't think, based on the numbers, it would be here in the desert.
Emari Demercado and Michael Carter Jr. are the same age. They're both 25. But Michael Carter had been in the league for a couple of years because he was a big-time player and a big-time prospect coming out of UNC. And this is not a knock on Demercado. He must be just the best dude. And I'm happy for him. You go from undrafted, you pay your dues. Like, if you want to have him on the roster, carry 5 running backs, because I think it's a mistake to cut Michael Carter Jr. I think that's a mistake by this team and they haven't done it yet.
Right.
And Michael Carter could blow up in this preseason. I hope he gets every opportunity to do so. But it's clear now they're either cutting Michael Carter Jr. or keeping 5 running backs, because they're not cutting DJ Dallas. He's grandfathered in, as you just mentioned. Demercado, unless he's straight up being showcased, who's showcasing a running back? Like, you cut Michael Carter tomorrow, he's a Dallas Cowboy. Michael Carter will be picked up off of waivers from somebody, and he will go to a viable spot. I just feel like I like Trey Benson. It's going to be his time eventually. I thought the running back position group was open and shut, and then this is like a grenade.
It's wild. I mean, take everything with a grain of salt, but like I said, it's jarring to see him all the way down there. Like, when I first screen capped it, I could barely even fit Michael Carter's name on it because he was so far on the right of the screen. RB5. RB5.
What do you think he thinks, Bo, after what he helped this? He was the guy with James Conner.
I mean, he's a high character guy. He's a competitive guy. I'm sure it fuels him. He was excited to get out of the spot he was in in New York and get on with an organization that wanted him at the time here in Arizona. What they value with Demercado, look, the biggest talking point, and I see it, was it Machine Gun Mexican saying, pass pro. Jonathan Gannon, you've heard him talk very highly of Demercado's ability to protect the quarterback, to be that running back there when you need a little extra protection. But I don't know. I agree with you, man. I think that if you're trying to kind of put the pros and cons for each of these players, I think Michael Carter is just a better pro going forward.
Michael Carter and Emari Demercado were on the team together last year, and the Cardinals actively chose to claim Michael Carter, even though they had Demercado, and give Demercado's touches to Michael Carter. It's not like Demercado went down for the year and they're like, oh, we got to bring somebody in. They had to add a body, and that body they had deemed, based on touches, was better at the time. Now, I guess Demercado could have, and I guess has, passed him up during the offseason program. But again, they're the same age. One of the players has been featured in multiple offenses at the profession. Obviously, the Jets at the professional level, and then at UNC, who's a big time prospect. I'm going to need some clarity on this, and who knows? Maybe this is just no. I don't even know how to rationalize it, because I think they should carry 5 backs. Are they going to carry 5 backs, Bo?
I don't think so.
Yeah. So somebody's out. Somebody's out.
Because as far as the way that they operate on game day, I mean, where does are you going to dress 5 running backs? Or what's the point of having 5? It's just, I think that's just too many people. And when we talk about to your point, if Michael Carter becomes available, I think that there's a dozen teams that would be vying for
claimed. He's not. He is claimed off waivers.
Where I think Emari, you have the outside chance that he doesn't get claimed, and you can put him on your practice squad.
Somebody's gonna have to, the DJ Dallas thing. Feels like we're ripping on Monty the last 2 shows. Somebody's gonna have to. That signing's gonna have to pay dividends.
Well, we've reached this is a nitpicking thing. I
don't think so. I think
I'm being very this, when we were looking at depth chart as far as where everybody goes, but that was the most surprising thing to see Carter all the way down the depth chart there.
6.2 yards per carry, and your 5th running back. Whatever.
Right there. I mean, it's not like a season removed. He did it during his learning a new offense, picking it up, and excelling in it in his role. I just think that like you can't discount that just because you feel like, is there a certain like, hey, we identified Demercado as an undrafted rookie free agents and we got him in here, we developed him. It's a great story. He went from JUCO to backing up at TCU to filling in for Kendre Miller for when TCU made that run, the college football playoff, and then makes his way as an undrafted guy to at one point starting running back for this team. It's all great, all well and good. I'd still take Michael Carter for a lot of the points that you made, Johnny, where I just think, what's being said in the chat, I just think as far as the change of pace, the role that he could potentially play and how at a high level he could play at, I think that would be missed if they move forward and he was the odd man out in this back room.
Last thing I'll say on it, I just feel like there are going to be injuries to this group. James Conner misses time every year. To your point, why not keep the veteran and then see if you can stash Demercado, and if somebody tries to sign him, bring him up and make him a part of your active roster, and then figure it out, because you're gonna have injuries on your running back group. Like, some of these guys are gonna get hurt. Mm-hmm. James Conner misses time every year, so. And then we're burying the headline. Trey Benson's number 2 to James Conner. Mm-hmm. And Trey Benson has been on the team for 3 months and looks pretty good in camp. And his time to shine is going to be during the preseason. But Trey Benson literally is, a top 65 pick in the NFL draft. They're just like, you're number 2 now, and this is your job. Trey Benson, again, I will eat all the crow on this, egg on my face. This is Trey Benson is breathing down James Conner's neck the minute James Conner is gone on this team, whether it's by injury or by contract. There's no confusing it. This is Trey Benson's job whenever James Conner is not around, whatever that looks
like. Well, and yeah, and that was my point when we had this discussion, a month or whenever we had it ago, where the primary backup to James Conner, if somebody's going to step into the role of James Conner, it's Trey Benson. I didn't think there was any doubts to that, but I think, if you're looking at who's going to be the back that sees the field when Conner's healthy and they're looking for a change of pace and somebody to do something a little different in the offense, I thought it was going to be Carter. So if this depth chart, reflects who is James Conner's primary backup, then that's what Benson, he's already occupying the RB2. And I don't think that's unrealistic.
Any other surprise, offensively, that's the showstopper. Higgins over, Tip Ryman. That's not, a kind of seniority thing. Clearly, there's no seniority with this coaching staff. It's part of the reason I love them. I think Higgins is the better player right now than Tip Ryman. No issue with the tight end group. And then I think the wide receiver group is, very much like we thought as well, Bo. Chris Moore looks good stretching the field vertically, is the opposite to MHJ. Zach Pascal, with his ability to play special teams and his relationship with Jonathan Gannon, they're going with Chris Moore, Zach Pascal, and Zay Jones as your 3 veteran backups to the 3 younger guys. I think it makes all the sense in the world.
Yeah. I mean, the thing is, you see Greg Dortch here starting as your slot receiver, right? And, that's earned, and you love to see it. And then you've got Zay Jones as his backup at slot. But I see Zay Jones as the backup to all 3 wide receiver positions.
Yeah, that's a great point. They're not going to put that on the depth chart, but that's correct.
Right. And then, Chris Moore, as you mentioned, he's been making great catch after great catch, take the top off the defense, as you mentioned, and yeah, you could play that. You come in, if Harrison just ran a couple long routes and you need somebody, he's gassed, you get more in there, potentially make a big play for him. So yeah, I don't have any kind of issues here. And then, with Ritter being the primary backup, I think that's going to be still a long way to go. All 3 preseason games where both these guys are going to get a ton of snaps. But Ritter has a slight edge over Tune.
That battle's over. I'm sorry. Damon
want to weigh in on that?
Johnny, I said after 1 practice, I came back here and I said, Tune ball is dead. Let's just call it like it is. Desmond Ritter is a better player than Clayton Tune, and I'm not really sure it's close.
Clayton's had a tough training camp, and I think it's a byproduct of him not competing with Colt McCoy, and it's a byproduct of the personnel defensively being better. It's hard, that we do the comparison all the time. an all-star high school basketball player playing against, a superior or less superior division, and then you go and you play with the best in the state or across the country, your coast of your respected school, you're going to look, it's not going to be as easy for you. And I feel like that, and I'm butchering that, but I feel like that's what happened to Clayton Tune. Like Clayton Tune was in a preseason last year, a training camp where he was still erratic, but he had nothing to lose, and the team was in shambles in terms of personnel. And so now it's like Desmond Ridder, say what you want about him, won NFL games, just like the argument we were making for Michael Carter. But he won NFL games. I think it was around 500 as a starter, has, big time college football resume, being, undefeated at Cincinnati en route to the college football playoff. And Desmond is not perfect. He's not a starter, but they like his mobility. His mobility was on display during the red and white scrimmage. I think that decision's done. Desmond Ridder would have to completely unravel for that not to happen.
Yeah, and just go out there and it looks like most of us playing Heisman in college football 25, just throwing pick after pick. Where it's strange, but like the Toon Stars versus the Monstars, the Toon Squad versus the Monstars, like you reverse the halves. Like Toon Squad last year was second half Toon Squad. And then this year it's first half Toon Squad, where
I made the comparison. It's the Toon Squad of the Michael Jordan versus the Toon Squad of that LeBron James blasphemy remake. That's what Clayton Tune is this training camp. So sorry about that.
Yeah. You got Judge Doom from Who Framed Roger Rabbit just exterminating tunes out here. It's tough. It's tough times.
That's quite a throwback. I'm sure half our audience didn't get that, but I appreciate it. We're going to talk about the defensive side of the depth chart. Some surprises there as well, but I'm going to tell you, not a surprise is making big bucks with our friends at Bet365. Never ordinary with the bonus code PHNX365. Again, we got preseason football this weekend. Has anybody checked the line for the Arizona Cardinals New Orleans Saints game with our friends at Bet365? Has anybody checked it in the chat? I'm keeping you honest here. I don't know. I'm checking it in real time. Does anybody know it? If I pulled up here, I was hoping that somebody would keep me honest.
I believe it's still 7, right? They get down to 6.5.
No, I'm talking about the preseason line for it.
Oh, preseason.
Dabbling on preseason line. Baby. Let's go. Game lines for the preseason. I'm looking at the full slate this weekend with our friends at Bet365. The Arizona Cardinals, a 1.5 point favorite, -110 against the New Orleans Saints with a tasty over-under of 38 even. Dabble on that right now. Bet365. I'm going to tell you right now, I like the Cardinals to cover, and I like the over. I'm going to parlay both of those with our friends at Bet365. I'm going to tell you right now, use the bonus code PHNX365 and deposit a mere $10 in your newly created account. You're going to get up to 150 in bonus bets with your first bet of just $5 or more. If that doesn't tickle your fancy, what about the first bet safety net offer by placing a bet up to $1,000? If your qualifying bet loses, you receive a match refund in bonus bets. I want to know who's riding with me this weekend. I'm going to go Cardinals money line, or Cardinals spread, -1.5, and I'm going to take the over, and I'm going to do it with our friends at Bet365 with the bonus code PHNX365. Again, got to be 21 years and older, physically located here in the great state of Arizona. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem and wants help, call 1-800-NEXT-STEP. Text NEXT STEP to 53342 or visit problemgambling.az.gov, Bo, for more information.
If you need to hire and you need to hire fast and you're looking for quality employees, future employees, then you need to look no further than Indeed. We thought we were going to have to find a new award-winning producer, and we hit the streets out there, and we found one. It was Damon Dawg. It's like what we already had right underneath our nose. It was award-winning producer. Damon got his grind back, and he's back in the fold, and we're excited to have him back. But according to Indeed data, they've got over 350 million global monthly visitors, 350 million people going to Indeed, trying to help fill their voids at their company or trying to find jobs. You should check in too with Indeed, because if you're looking for work, look no further. If you're looking for the highest quality future employees, check out Indeed. Listeners to the show get $75 sponsored job credit to get your jobs more visibility at Indeed.com/AllCity. Just go to Indeed.com/AllCity right now and support PHNX Cardinals by saying you heard about Indeed on this pod, PHNX Cards. Indeed.com/AllCity. Terms and conditions apply. Need to hire? You need Indeed.
Yeah. I need these super chats. Like I need air. How about potato bread? $4.99. I like the Trey Benson is second on the depth chart, but why is Michael Carter so far behind potato bread? We just spent 20 minutes trying to figure that out, my guy. We're open for interpretation. We're open for conspiracy theories, and I know, some people are throwing it out there. No surprises. This is absolutely a surprise. Michael Carter looks good in camp. He's running right behind James in every drill that they do. He's got a clear expectation. Like, I can't imagine Michael Carter's like, I'm not going to make this team now. The offense was borderline unwatchable. And then Kyler Murray came back and they picked up Michael Carter and they looked really viable. And if you have a role for Emari Demercado, awesome. But Demercado, to me, like, I don't think he's as good of a player as Michael Carter. Obviously, the coaching staff disagrees.
Remember when we were looking at that LA trip and all the playmakers were there? I don't think Michael Carter wasn't in that picture, was he?
He was there, I thought.
we thought Jeff Smith with Michael Carter. I don't know if we ever.
Demercado wasn't there, was he?
Demercado was almost positive he was there.
Maybe the tea leaves have been there.
Yeah, but him and Kyler mesh so well. Like, they talk about their competitive. Like Michael Carter, we heard from several times about how much he likes Kyler Murray. I don't know. I don't know what's going on. How about pick and spreads? Our guy Donnie. How quick does Max and D-Rob? How long does it take for them to get starting jobs? And we'll get into the defensive depth chart here shortly. But it's a great question. Our guy Red Sea Connor, really solid follow on Instagram. Highly encourage you guys to check out our guy Red Sea Connor. $5. What's up, guys? Who's one rookie either on the offense or defense that's really surprised you in training camp as a potential breakout player? And this was not a plan. We're going to talk about some breakouts as far as training camp goes. So keep locked, Connor, to this show. We'll get into it after we get into the defensive depth chart.
You guys should basically make this rundown for the show because we're going to answer all these questions here. But we appreciate the super chats nonetheless. Bo and I comprise 3 names apiece for breakouts. We were going to lead the show with it until we got the depth chart. Officer, hello, Officer, $4.99. I like what you're telling me.
Dirt Bike Boy, did he tell us the origin story of his new screen name? And I think he was just putting this on the origin story. Demercado should be the odd man out, respectively. Carter is the perfect 2 while Benson develops.
Is there a possibility Demercado is much better on special teams like kick coverage or as a gunner or anything like that?
For sure. I know he's back up to DJ Dallas in his role in the dynamic kickoff.
Gotcha. Well, maybe that's part of it. Maybe it's special teams. Michael Carter, does he play special teams? I don't know. If he does he do it well? I don't know. I just know that one guy averaged 6.2 yards per carry last year, and every time he touched the ball, he looked electric. That tackle he broke at the goal line, throwing a defender off him against the Philadelphia Eagles. Come on now. Come on, Gannon. Help us out here. Make it make sense. We're going to make sense of the defensive depth chart here in just a second. I think Damon's still working on that. Okay. But let me talk to you a little bit about the situation with BJ Ojulari, because we spent a good amount of Saturday show as it relates to it, but no updates as it relates to a workout. We've been pressing people. We've been combing the Twitter streets. BJ Ojulari, as of right now, has been placed on injured reserve. He's done for the year. You reported it earlier today, Bo. No moves, but they did work out a corner. But no pass rusher yet. So what gives?
Yeah, I mean, it's strange. I mean, we have seen a couple young corners that are in the mix for snaps this season between Max Melton and Keitrell Clark have been sidelined for, unknown, I'm sure nicked up as Jonathan Gannon would call it, but are they looking to bring in some corner depth before the preseason? But yeah, they worked out a trio of corners, but they didn't, no news on the pass rush front. And I don't know if you're hearing anything, but I certainly haven't heard anything. It's extremely quiet on that front, which I think to an extent is pretty disappointing.
Yeah. We put out feelers, been pressing some people since Friday, and no news right now. And I mean, no news, like I haven't gotten a text message that has been responded like, hey, they're going to roll with what they have. So I don't want people to think like they're content. But, Yannick Ngakoue, the free agent that everybody wants and keeps an eye on, I do want to bring up, and somebody pointed this out to me, he did break his ankle last year. So it could be a health thing too. Like, is he not signed because he can't pass a physical? He wants $10 million like last year. The Cardinals have the fifth most cap space in the NFL right now. They've got about $35 million. So they can make any financial, situation work. Are they waiting for the initial cuts? I sure as hell hope not, but nothing as it relates to a workout, a trade, with the pass rush group. And again, I think that segues us into this defensive depth chart, Bo, and how I respectfully talent stripped this pass rush group is, and it really kind of shows you based on the fellas that they've got at those two outside linebacker positions, Bo.
Just the fellas they have playing some outside linebacker for them. Let's take a look at that room to start off. You got where BJ Ojulari was going to start. They reinsert Dennis Gardeck, who started most of the games at outside linebacker last year for the Cardinals. He's back there opposite Zaven Collins, and then that's when the lack of depth kind of rears its ugly face at you. You've got Victor Dumakaji behind Collins, Jesse Luketa behind Gardeck, and then it's Xavier Thomas, XT, your 2024 draft pick out of Clemson, who you never saw any big sack numbers playing for the Tigers there in the ACC. Cameron Thomas, a former third-round pick for this Cardinals team that had 0 sacks last year, was part of the rotation, but just didn't have any production. What many people would say is probably just not a scheme fit. And then you've got Tyreek Smith, the former Ohio State product, who was signed late in the season last year. And, I saw Zaven Collins kind of working with him on some technique at the red and white. But, I don't know if Tyreek Smith is somebody that's going to be a realistic option to vie for, heavy snaps in this rotation.
Yeah, to me, it just screams like it needs a facelift, and you're only going to be able to do so much right now. And Xavier Thomas, who knows? Maybe he's a player. We don't know yet, but at least there's that unknown piece. Like my argument, I've made tenfold over. I know what Jesse Luketa is. I know what Victor Dumakaji is. Cameron Thomas, we thought would break out last year. He did the opposite. So like, I just feel like his roster spot is completely up for grabs. Like,
yeah,
if you know what these guys can and can't do, and for the most part, they can't consistently rush the passer. I mean, we just got done talking about special teams. Like, can we try a veteran? Can we get a veteran in here? Can we get a specialist to come in and help? Because right now, Dennis Gardeck and Zaven Collins is your two starting edge rushers. I was on board for Zaven Collins as the second or third best edge rusher on your team. I'm okay with that. The franchise seemed okay with that. But the minute you lost Ojulari and Dennis Gardeck is elevated to a starter, I think about what the 49ers and Trent Williams want to do and just maul Dennis Gardeck on the edge. I think about, Seattle's got two really good tackles. To me, it's like this defense is so well equipped and so improved based off last year to take advantage outside of one position. I like all the moves they did minus this position group. And it's an eyesore right now, respectfully. And I say that as somebody who wants to see Zaven Collins succeed, but everything else, man, it's just not, just like the D tackle group last year. It's just not an NFL starting pass rush group. It's just not.
Right. And maybe for its lack in talent, it could compromise what else you're trying to do defensively, different levels of your defense. And that's what you don't want to see now. I mean, it's different when it's right up front, when it's in the interior defensive line. But when you want to play rush and cover football, the inability to really generate a pass rush, it's going to be tough. We saw how nearly impossible at times it was to get off the football field when there just wasn't any production the final 6 to 7 games of the season last year. And, if you don't get somebody who is a quarterback sack artist in this group, I think that you make things very challenging for, not only that room, but the entire defense. So
people are asking, like, make sense of this. Why are they doing this? Bo, I'll let you give your thoughts. My only opinion is they feel like they've upgraded so much at defensive tackle that these players are going to be helped by that.
Like, we know that the organization understands that this is not a strength of theirs. That they lack, the players. Like, it's going to need to be Nick Rollis working along with Jonathan Gannon and scheming some sacks. And the guys taking a jump playing in this defense for a second season, like think that's only going to go so far. Like, I think Zaven Collins is a legitimate chance to double his production, but that gets to you to 8 sacks. If you get the same season from Dennis Gardeck, that's nice, that's good. But where's the rest coming from? And that's why people are skeptical about this group. It's like somebody is going to have to emerge out of nowhere. Somebody's going to have to parachute in from outer space, the way that people are sleeping on this, like from the absolute clouds, where Aiyuk has to come out and have a super productive season, especially sack-wise, or an XT and Xavier Thomas. And I just think that's a bit, I don't know, like I want to shy away from saying naive. I just don't, like, where's it coming from? Unless it's going to be supplemented from the interior defensive line, where we look at this, where you feel a sense of conviction from Justin Jones, Bilal Nichols, and Darius Robinson.
Yeah, I'll use a wrestling term. I know you love when I do that. It has to be Sting from the rafters. You know that gif when he comes down? That's, hey, there's Victor Dumukagi out of nowhere. Yeah. He's got a baseball bat, 12 sacks, unbelievable. That's what they have to produce this year. And again, like, people are going to think I'm kissing ass. If there's anybody that can do it, it's Jonathan Gannon, and then to a lesser extent, Nick Rollis. Like, I have firm belief in them. This is not a schematic issue. We saw what their scheme did early last year, and then personnel came up to them, and they were literally playing with street free agents and practice squad guys. So now it's like, oh yeah, you've got an infusion of talent. You've got some young players you're excited about, but this you can make an argument that's the most important position on your defense is your pass rush, right? And to make opposing quarterbacks uncomfortable. So no update as it relates to Yannick Ngakoue or Hassan Reddick. I mean, are those players playing this year? Because they're not playing for the Cardinals right now, and that's a damn shame.
But, and I was making this point on Saturday, I think BJ Ojulari gave you a realistic chance to get up to double-digit sacks in year 2.
I think so.
Especially with how complimentary they were of how well he was playing since the spring. But it's when you look at Philly's defense from 2022, where it's, you've got Josh Sweat, who makes a jump. From before that, he hadn't sniffed double-digit sacks. He has 11 sacks, right? And you've got guys in Brandon Graham and guys in that pass rush rotation, but you don't have that Hassan Reddick. Like, that's the big key. Like, you can have guys that have, what's career years for them, and like they still reach, 6-7 sacks, but you need an alpha. That room doesn't have an alpha yet, or anything that, and BJ was that opportunity. I think it's that lacking that is very concerning going into a 17-game marathon season.
Let's get back to the rest of this depth chart, because there are some surprises, but then you rationalize them and they make sense. Like, let's look at the defensive tackle group. Roy Lopez is a nose tackle. That's why he's listed as ahead of Dante Stills and Darius Robinson. Like, he's a traditional eating space nose tackle run defender. Like, Lopez is not playing on passing downs, in my opinion. So you look at newcomers, Justin Jones and Bilal Nichols are veterans. They're excited about them. Dante Stills and Darius Robinson are going to play a lot. I think Darius Robinson starts games. Even if he doesn't, he's going to be super productive. Just that foursome plus LJ Collier, that group is night and day better than last year. It is night and day. So I don't care. Like, this is a position group, and I'm going to say the same thing when we get to corner. I don't care who starts. I don't care, what is perceived nationally or publicly. Like, the Darius Robinson is better than 90% of that position group now. It's an experience thing. It's a roster flexibility thing. It's a scheme fit. They will move him all over. Hell, like, you might be able to put Darius Robinson at edge rusher / outside linebackers in certain looks. So I don't have concern at all.
This is how I view this depth chart. The interior of the defensive line. Like, and you're like, the Darius Robinson thing was probably the most thing that was tweeted out at me outside of the Michael Carter being RB5 was Darius isn't starting yet. What's the deal with that? And I look at this, like, just look at the first 2 rows of this defensive line group. Just look at from Justin Jones, Roy Lopez, Bilal Nichols, Dante Stills, LJ Collier, Darius Robinson. I view that as your rotation. That's your starting rotation. Like, those guys are all going to get pretty equal amount of snaps. That's what I look at as your defensive line group, your defensive starting group.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think it's again, Jonathan Gannon told Bo and I at the combine when we spoke with him, nobody's playing more than 60% of the snaps. Like, they need that group fresh. That was the opposite of what they had last year. No concerns with that. Let's move to the linebacking core. And again, no concerns with this. And I think you can make the same case, Bo. Like, Mac Wilson can come in and help this team on the edge, right? There are going to be certain instances where it's just going to be Kazir White by himself. And then there might be Chris Barnes and Kazir White. And then Wilson's, rushing the passer off opposite Zaven Collins. These are all intermediate chess pieces for Nick Rallis to deploy at his disposal. They're going to play a lot. I love seeing Owen Papo make plays at training camp. Had a pick had a pick in the end zone the other day. I was a big fan of bringing back Chris Barnes. He had a pick of CJ Stroud last year. So inside linebacker group, very sound, very steady, Bo.
Yeah. And anytime we talk to Kazir White, we talk about his relationship with Mac Wilson, and it's great. Like they're starting 2 linebackers already have a great rapport. But then he's quick to also remind you that Chris Barnes is a really good player. He's going to be, solid in his second season. And I look at, I think this is the top 4 guys here. That's going to be your off-ball linebacking core to start the season.
Yeah.
Mac Wilson, Kazir White, Owen Papo, Chris Barnes.
Yeah. It's a really good group. It's a really good group. And again, we can probably gloss over safety as well. Chachere and Taylor Demerson are backing up two of your best players on your team, and Jalen Thompson and Budda Baker. No issues with that. I don't know how many safeties they carried last year, whether it was 4 or 5, but Jalen Thompson, so versatile, can play slot corner. You can move him all over the place. Budda Baker rushes the passer, plays in run defense. That's probably your deepest position group on your team, assuming Taylor Demerson can play. So if you're comfortable with it, Bo, let's jump into corner.
All right. Yeah. So the other one up there with Darius Robinson, the question is Max Melton being CB2 behind Starling Thomas. And the one who doesn't face really any questions is that quietly had a solid camp is Sean Murphy-Bunting, but he's starting opposite Sean Murphy-Bunting, and Max Melton is just behind him. I don't know. I mean, I think I've seen a lot of Starling Thomas. I think he's had a lot of, solid plays, but at the same time, he falls victim to this really talented wide receiver core. And that's going to be, I think playing in a division like the NFC West, where it's, filled with talented receivers, like you're going to take the good with the bad. And he played a ton of snaps his rookie season. And I think he's going to add good depth here, but I hope Max Melton overtakes him, before the start of the regular season.
Yeah, I don't have an issue with this either. Starling Thomas played a lot of snaps for this team last year. Starling Thomas is healthy, whereas Keitrell Clark's been held out of practice. Max Melton didn't participate in the red and white scrimmage. To be a starter, partially, you got to be available. And, I'm a fan of Max Melton. He's not going anywhere. Elijah Jones has missed time. Sean Murphy-Bunting's having a tremendous camp, and Starling Thomas looks better than he did last year. I think this is a respect veteran, solidify. Let's give it to the guys who are out there battling right now. Max Melton is your future number 2 corner outside of Sean Murphy-Bunting. I know we haven't talked about Garrett Williams, but he's your slot corner. But if you ever start, base defense, I think eventually it's going to be Max Melton. He's got the physical attributes. He's got the athleticism. He's got, I think, the chip that we've talked about. He's missed a couple practices. He's been dinged up. And Gannon told us definitively, outside of Ojulari, none of these injuries are serious. Yeah. So they're just working through some stuff. Max Melton's going to play a lot. Darius Robinson's going to play a lot, right? All the linebackers are going to play a lot. The defense to me is just a box of crayons for Rallis to paint a picture of however he wants. The offense is a different story.
Are you guys painting a picture with crayons? We got an issue.
Or draw a picture.
That was last year.
Paint a picture with paint. But offensively, no one wants to see Desmond Ridder play ever. No one wants to see the backups in the offensive line play ever, right? If outside of your top 2 or 3 running backs, if you get down into DJ Dallas, that's a problem. Whereas the defense, and that's the beauty of the Gannon defense, is they're not singularly reliant on one player. And that's what they would probably tell you about the situation with Ojulari. But my pushback would be that room wasn't great to begin with. It was not you didn't lose Budda Baker and still have Jalen Thompson, right? You lost BJ Ojulari, unproven, with Zaven Collins, unproven, and in my opinion, a bunch of guys. Guys. So, that's better than last year, significantly.
Oh yeah. Damon, you were about to chime in on this defense.
Yeah, I wanted to talk about Roy Lopez for a second, Johnny, because I happened to be listening to the Red White postgame show, and you just kind of threw him in there. Oh, Roy Lopez. Yeah, he's there. He's a guy, and he's a starter, and he's putting on for his state, Johnny. And I think we need to
Oh,
put some more
Jesus.
respect on Roy Lopez's name.
Roy Lopez is here to do a job. It's called Space Eater. He's here to eat space and Hokies. And this Arizona
And
Cardinals
maybe Johnny.
and right, and maybe me. That's awesome. Happy for Roy Lopez, the local product. Even though barf, I hate that term. Just get me good football players. They don't have to be from ASU or U of A. But yeah, I mean, but you could start a front seven that has Bilal Nichols and Roy Lopez as your two interior defensive tackles, and then you could put Justin Jones and Darius Robinson as your pass rushers. They will do all of that. So, but yeah, congrats to Roy Lopez for being a starter.
That's cute, kid. That's what Johnny's doing.
You just tussled your hair afterwards and just said, "Yeah, go get him." No, I mean, look, he plays a role that they still weren't able to identify in this offseason. They were able to boost the defensive line room, right? But like that true nose. I think Roy Lopez has a little niche for himself in being able to play that. And, good for him. Mesquite product. Shout out, Mesquite, the former high school of Mina Kimes and Roy Lopez. It's those,
two of the best.
Those are the two that are, if you're
two-headed goat.
Yeah. If you had want somebody to kind of carry the torch for that school, those are the two right there. I can't think of anybody else.
And they one went to Yale and the other went to the Harvard of the West.
That's right.
Wow.
Where did he start before
New Mexico State, I think.
Okay, New Mexico State. Not far off. He's a Southwestern boy.
We welcome him.
One thing real quick.
Yeah.
Like I said, the inside linebackers, I think you get 4. Okay. I see a Marcus Bailey. He's a teams guy. I don't think you prioritize a roster spot for him.
Okay.
So I'm you probably carry with Damon, Dumakaji, Lucetta, Thomas Gardeck, probably carrying 6 outside linebackers and 4 off-ball lines. So you're going to have 10 linebackers combined. I think.
I'm going to give you a hot take. With this group of outside linebackers, I would rather have less of these people and more running backs. I would rather keep 5 running backs than have 6 of these pass rushers that can't rush the passer. I'm sorry. Hey, we got to keep 6 pass rushers. Well, have you seen the guys that we have at pass rusher? Do we have to? That's what I was saying. Do we have to do that, Monti Ossenfort? Thank you for that breakdown, though. We're going to predict.
You're this very disrespectful young man. That's what I tell you.
I'm trying to help the team win. I'm here to win. Winners win.
Yeah.
I'm going to ask we pull a mulligan, a quick audible, and we save our camp breakouts for tomorrow. Are you okay with that? Because I do.
Sure.
Is that okay with you? I know we got asked with the super chat, so I want to be respectful of that. But this day has been hooting, hollering, crazy. There's a depth chart that was released today, and I want to talk about Brandon Aiyuk.
Okay,
being traded because that would be just a fantastic occurrence.
Look, it's your show. We're just part of it. It's your show.
I asked if it was okay to audible. Plus, we have a super chat. This super chat from Ryan's fantastic because I'm all for it. $2. Bring Keim in for a celebrity guest Keim time signing. Put Steve Keim in a room. He gets a Rolodex and a phone and try to get a free agent signing to come in and take a workout. Keim, come in and call Yannick's people. Come in and call Carl Lawson's people. Let's get Hassan Reddick's reps on the phone and get a Keim time signing, and then right back to the unemployment line.
The only thing I would sign off on bringing Keim back in this organization is to officially fire him instead of unceremonious resign. If you're gonna rehire him just to fire him, that's the only thing that I'll sign up for. Otherwise, I'm out on everything else.
Damon Pog, JV owns this show. Bo and Damon are just his minions. Well, some people are saying it. Doesn't mean it's true or not. It's not true, but some people are saying it. Before we talk about Brandon Aiyuk, who is money for Brock Purdy, I want to talk about your money specifically and how you manage it with our friends at Desert Financial Credit Union, the official credit union of the Arizona Cardinals, PHNX Sports, and the Venerable household. They have a team of financial experts who are committed to their members and the community, offering financial solutions tailored to helping real people achieve their financial goals and dreams. How about a savings account, checking account, mortgages, loans, credit cards, investment options, and more? I'm waiting for my transaction of the day with Desert Financial. Hopefully, the Arizona Cardinals signing a pass rusher. But speaking of transactions, no better place to do your transaction in the East Valley. Tons of locations, tons of ATMs, whatever you need. Make time for a place to get your exclusive Red Sea Arizona Cardinal Visa debit card today. Go to desertfinancial.com/CardinalsBo to get started.
Yeah, and look, Circle K, America's Thirst Shop.
Yeah.
Damon was all about it this weekend as he was making his way out of town and back to town.
You guys won't believe this.
No.
I almost got stuck in the Mojave Desert again with no gas. And there it was again.
Yep.
In the desert oasis.
Like a beacon.
Just a shining light on it. Oh, there's Circle K. To be fair, this time I wasn't the one driving.
Yeah.
But we did have 0 miles left in the car in the middle of on our way to Yuma.
Just running it on fumes.
Just classic.
Into my beloved Yuma, saving your ass again. And I'm sure you're quick to tell your friends about becoming a member of the Inner Circle. Guys, it's free. And you're going to save 25 cents per gallon on your first 5 fill-ups. Not only is it going to save our asses, but it's going to save us some money. Check it out. Free membership program. It's 3 cents per gallon every day after that, after your first 5 fill-ups. I've hit a different echelon. 5 cents per gallon. It's elite. Enjoy your member exclusive beverage deal. Inner Circle, you can get any size Polar Pop or Froster for just 79 cents. I'm sure the fellas were enjoying a couple of those after sweating out, maybe getting stranded in the Mojave Desert. That's going on through September 3rd at any Arizona location. Find it in the app under Circle/offers. Join Inner Circle for free by downloading the Circle K app today. Terms and conditions apply at participating locations. Visit CircleK.com for details.
I love when the Arizona Cardinals rivals potentially get weaker, especially 5 weeks before the start of the regular season. Brandon Aiyuk supposedly could be on the move as soon as tonight. Speculation ran wild on the Twitter streets today. Multiple, let's just call them outlets, suggesting that he could be traded to the Pittsburgh Steelers. Damon, I believe we have this quote graphic here as it relates to this gentleman on Twitter who is staking it all. He's staking it all. Cam Marino saying the Steelers and the Niners have agreed to a trade that sends star receiver Brandon Aiyuk to Pittsburgh. Follow this up. Mike Garafolo of NFL.com did not confirm this piece of information, but did say, I would say we are closer to a trade than we are Aiyuk staying with San Francisco. And now while this podcast has been airing, this stream, The Athletic is stating that basically the Niners are receiving trade offers to the minute for Brandon Aiyuk. So again, Aiyuk, it sounds like the Adam Schefter has basically put the kibosh on a couple teams trading for him because he has to agree to that extension. People are speculating New England because that situation's a hot mess disaster. But I would say right now, a Aiyuk trade feels inevitable, don't you?
Who needs Schefter when you have Cam Marino?
This dude's staking his rep. I love when people take a big swing.
What do you mean his rep? He's got 8,300 followers.
Well, no, but people are saying like, if you put this out there and you're not right, you're dead to us. And I just love that. I love that just kind of high stakes Twitter gambling where you're like,
there's so many zombie accounts out there that have been wrong and should have been dead, but continue to live on the Twitter streets.
That one just feels so close to Dan Marino from a name standpoint that it's like, it can't be real, right?
Yeah, I mean, it throws me off. It's the first thing I think about.
All right, well then let's focus on the Garofalo report and the Athletic report that basically is like they're actively engaged in trade discussions. How do you feel about that?
Good. Anytime, a young up and coming, talented wide receiver is going to exit a division, or a talented player for that matter is on his way out, it's great for the Cardinals.
They have reported, Mike Silver, that a big part of this, Deebo Samuel has come to camp motivated. He's in great shape. He's having a big camp, which is great. I think Deebo Samuel is a really good player, but he also misses time every year and was a no-show in the Super Bowl. Whereas Brandon Aiyuk, he's an ascending player. Teams want to bring him in. He had 1,400 yards last year. He's a really, really good player. So I think regardless of what they get for him, they're not going to get, I don't think they're going to get a piece to the roster that's going to help them this year. I think you're probably going to get a first round pick and then a little bit extra. Like that's not helping the Niners this year in win now mode with an aging Trent Williams, who also, by the way, is holding out. McCaffrey, another year older. Kittle's in his 30s. Like if the Niners trade Brandon Aiyuk, I am fully on board with a huge regression year for this team.
Yeah. The only thing I will say is like the way that Aiyuk and his representation of his approach this, it it doesn't. If you're a fan of this team and all the success that they've recently had, it hasn't been exactly been like good faith negotiations. Like
Okay.
for them to maybe move off potentially before giving this guy a massive deal and he wants like top 5 receiver money. It might be, a decent addition by subtraction. It's still like in the short term, it doesn't make them better, but in the long term, is a good move for them?
But aren't they in win now? They got to win a Super Bowl,
right? I hear you, but like, are you gonna give this guy the bag and he's gonna, continue this? Like to negotiate everything publicly, and like if George Kittle and Christian McCaffrey and Deebo Samuel, rightfully so, continue to be the vocal point of the offense, is he going to then be upset if he's not the guy, even though he's making the kind of money that he's expected to make? I mean, I agree. Like in the short term, it's a great move, for the Cardinals to not have to face and have to cover that deep threat against the Niners twice this upcoming season, and then going forward.
I just feel like you remove Aiyuk from the equation last year, who, again, 18 yards per catch, played 16 out of 17 games. You take him off that team, and they get a first-round pick and maybe a third or whatever. And then you're like, hey, it's Deebo, McCaffrey, and George Kittle. And what happens to those 3 players? They get hurt a lot. They miss time. McCaffrey just had his most touches ever last year. I just feel like you trot out Brock Purdy, everybody's savior at quarterback, Brock Purdy, with no Aiyuk, and Deebo's banged up. And it's like, hey, go win games with Ricky Pearsall, who, by the way, missed time during training camp. Hey, Brock Purdy, without your Yak King receiving core, which could be the greatest receiving core of the modern era, how you looking these days? Are you winning games en route to the Super Bowl, or are you pretty fucking average? I think that we're going to get the latter. That's what I'm hoping for. I need Brock Purdy, the local product, to be exposed, because the Brock Purdy hype is gross. I can't wait till he gets $60 million. I can't wait till they trade Aiyuk. Again, watch his throws in the NFC Championship game in the divisional round, where it's like, let me check it down to one of my Hall of Fame playmakers, and then I get all this yak, and then everybody puts up my statistics. Like, if they trade Brandon Aiyuk, the erosion has begun. I'm ready to grave dance on the 49ers, and we will celebrate.
I love it. I love your passion. I hope you're right. I think it's still got a long way to go. It's not exactly going to be like a dinged up, 1972 Ford, right? It's not eroded that bad. It's got one little blemish, albeit a decent sized one with Aiyuk potentially leaving that offense.
Trent Williams is 36 years old. What'd you say, Damon?
I said, let's hope he's not a Bill by week 1.
Right.
That would be
a nightmare.
Unfortunate.
I think if you could move him to Pittsburgh with their hot mess of a QB situation, they're not a threat to you if you're the Niners.
I can't believe Pittsburgh would be in that. Like, of all teams, like, you usually trade for players at positions that you don't draft well. They always draft well at the wide receiver position.
Well, here's the Athletic report. The Athletic basically reported that 3 teams have pursued him as of now: the Patriots, the Browns, and the Pittsburgh Steelers. I don't think there's any way they trade him within the NFC. So what do those 3 teams have in common? They're trying to prop up these QBs, Drake May, Deshaun Watson, who everybody thinks is toast. And then, obviously what's going on with Justin Fields and Russell Wilson. So I think if you can get Aiyuk to the Pittsburgh Steelers or the Cleveland Browns, that's a win. But Ayuk's got to sign a contract extension. I think he'd sign an extension with Pittsburgh.
Yeah, no, I don't doubt that. I just don't understand why Pittsburgh could go and find, like, they drafted Roman Wilson, who's an impressive prospect. He got hurt, right? But but they just seem to draft, develop. They traded, Deontay Johnson, who was a decent player for a little bit. They were able to grift the Bears for a 2nd-round pick with Chase Claypool not too long ago. Like, they drafted and developed, and they seemingly always have talent at that position. I don't know why they would want to give up a considerably valuable asset and then have to pay a monster contract. It just seems like
they're probably sick of watching the Bengals and the Ravens make deep runs to the postseason. The Browns made the playoffs last year. Shave's saying that Aiyuk listed Washington and Pittsburgh as teams he would play for. So he probably vibes with Tomlin, and who knows? Justin Fields may win that job. I just
keep him out of the conference, right?
Yeah, I care less about where he goes and more about him leaving the Niners.
Wouldn't it be great if he goes to Pittsburgh and Fields does even less with those playmakers?
It's like you wanted
What would
Marvin
they blame next?
Get Brandon Aiyuk and you still can't win.
What would the cult of Justin Fields blame next?
I don't even think the cult of Justin Fields now reps Caleb Williams jerseys. So that the cult's dead. It's been reborn. And sometimes they're in our chat, but we appreciate all of you. What a show this was today.
Yeah.
Like this video, subscribe to PHNX Sports here on YouTube, become a diehard. Read Craig Morgan's article, by the way, on the current state of the pass rush at gophnx.com. It is a very eye-opening, article as it relates to the situation and how the Cardinals plan to mitigate it, the options that are available. Of course, our beat reporter, Craig Morgan, hoping to have him on the show later this week in preparation for preseason action. We'll have live coverage of the Saints matchup, halftime post-game show this Saturday. But, training camp, it wraps later this week, Bo.
Yeah, it wraps up on Thursday. They break camp. It'll walk through on Friday. Game at State Farm Stadium on Saturday. You and I were in contact with one of our faves, getting a part of the gang back.
I love it.
Bolden.
Love it.
Did I jump the gun there? It sounds like he's in for Saturday.
Just
to talk some ball.
Just some dudes having fun.
Just another guy's locked in.
Yeah, always.
It's good to have you back, Damon, Dawg. Locked in. Good to have you
back.
Yeah, I needed to find that. I had to find it out in San Diego.
I need everybody to find that like button right now. We got over 760 live. Hit that like button. Subscribe. Yeah. We just crossed 30,000 subscribers here on YouTube. Here's to 40 and 50,000 in the near future. If you don't know who we are, this is your premier Arizona Cardinal podcast. Subscribe to wherever you get your podcasts, Spotify, Apple, on your mobile device, your smartphone. Bo's back at practice mañana. We hear from coaching staff, maybe a player or two, and maybe the Cardinals. They drum around that free agent pool. Maybe they look at a pass rusher. Maybe.
Yeah. Gannon's going to laugh at any of the depth chart questions. Like, guys, I don't make these depth charts. This is based off what the media relations staff sees. He's going to be like, oh, you're wasting my time.
We like our team. We like our team.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. We like all of you. Thanks for sticking with us today. We're back on a Football Tuesday for Bo, Damon. I'm Johnny. See you then.
We all silly like the mayor.